Hello, happiness abounder, and welcome back. So, today I want to chat all about following your intuition. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, for the longest time, I felt like I wasn't an intuitive person. I felt like I just kind of did what I needed to do, and I didn't get any special messages, I didn't get any intuitive thoughts. It just was like, yeah, that's for everyone else. I don't really have that. What I started to realize over time, especially as I started to love and get to know and have a stronger relationship with myself, was that I do have an intuition. And in fact, it's a great tool to help me improve my relationships. Not only my relationship with myself, but my relationships with others. So that's what I want to talk about today as we talk about those 5 more things to improve your relationships. So, that said, how does listening to your intuition improve your relationships? One of the easiest ways that I have seen it improve my relationships is I will occasionally this happens actually pretty frequently. I'll be driving and I'll get a thought that says, I need to text so and so. And I just need to check in on them and see how they're doing. And when I don't do that, nothing really happens. Like, it's okay if I'm like, no, I'm driving, I can speak into my phone, but I just have a lot on my mind right now. I don't want to get engaged in a conversation. I'll do that later. And then later comes and I don't do it. It's not like anything bad happens that I didn't listen to that small, like, I'm thinking of this person. I should let them know. But the few times where I have been like, yeah, I should reach out to that person, and I've done it, holy cow, has it deepened the relationship with that individual. Like, insanely so. Where it's like, wow, I was just thinking about you and I thought I'd reach out and see how you're doing. And it usually is, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you reached out. I'm actually struggling with this and could use your help. Or, yeah, do you want to go to girls' night? And then we do a girls' night, and that night is just so inspiring and connective. So there's so many pieces that can come into listening to your intuition just by simple, like, that thought coming in saying, maybe you should reach out to this person. Now, like I said, for a long time, I didn't think I had that superpower, putting air quotes around that, because I feel like intuition was for people who were more spiritually connected, or intuition was for those people who just knew what to do. And for the rest of us, we just got in, we got the job done, and we executed, and we learned on the fly. The rest of us being me. And so I had this thought around intuition. Like I mentioned, when I started to really get to know myself and appreciate myself, when I would have those thoughts, I'd be like, why am I not acting on this? Maybe it is intuition. And then I started to see the results of when I did act on it. So this is kind of a two-parter. One, to improve that relationship with yourself and your highest self, or your higher power, or the universe, whatever you want to call what you might believe in, to strengthen that connection and that relationship, and even more so with yourself. Like, when you get a thought that you should reach out to somebody, and it's a positive, good thought, and that person's not like abused you or something in the past, then if you listen to it and you act on it, you're building that relationship with yourself to trust yourself more, which is huge. So when you have those small thoughts, start seeing how they can play out for you and build that trust, build that evidence that, in fact, maybe that is your intuition. And maybe that can deepen those relationships. Now, part 2 of when I started to listen to my intuition and actually realize I had one was I would get small promptings about my spouse. And it would be things like, I need to check in with them. Or in the past, I'd just been so busy and so like, here, 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 here. Very task and goal oriented over here, if you haven't noticed yet. And I would just be so focused on my own stuff that I wouldn't notice when my spouse was feeling off or if something was wrong. Now, granted, in that time, we've gotten a lot better at communicating, like, hey, I just need a hug right now, and talking and setting aside time. But when I started listening to my intuition, I could see those things or feel those things or get a thought about those things before he would tell me. And so then I could be like, hey, it's time to slow down, Taylor. It's time just to take a few minutes and connect with your husband. And that really made a difference in our relationship. And as I've mentioned in the last week's episodes, my husband's love language is words of affirmation. And every once in a while, I will get a small little thought that comes in and says, you need to text him and tell him you love him. I'm like, okay, gonna do it. And I have seen our relationship continue to thrive and to flourish and to grow and become more connected the more I've listened to my intuition. So following your intuition is huge, not only on your relationship with yourself and beginning to trust yourself and those thoughts that you have, but also with your spouse. Now, also can help with those relationships with friends, colleagues, business partners, etc. Because again, I should message them and talk to them about this. The other piece is, in the business world, right, in my corporate life, there's been so many times where I've had a thought come in that I've never thought of before that's like, we should check up on this. And it's like, oh, yeah, we do need to check up on that. That wasn't even on my radar, but that's something that's pretty important. We need to check up on that, like, ASAP. And that started to become like what I thought was luck or preparation has started to look at like a combo of preparation, optimization, and listening to my intuition on what are those pieces that I need to do. Now, on the Happiness Abound transformational mentor front, my personal business that this podcast is closely connected to, every time I have spoken with an individual about mentoring with me, anytime I have tried to shift the direction to be like, yes, I can help you, let's get into this, because that is my first, that's my template, is very much action oriented, get it done. And every episode has an action item for you, so you already know this about me. But what I have found is that every time that I've tried to be like, yes, I understand where you're at, I know that I can help you, let's start diving in, and here's the list of things that we can do, it starts to turn people off, because mentoring is different than the podcast. It's much more personalized. And as I grew into my intuition, and I'm continuing to grow into my intuition, I started to get these thoughts of, don't say that, say this. Don't go there yet, they're not ready, do this instead. Guide them, lead them, give them hope, instead of you have the hope and you're like, I can help you, and they're like, well, wait, I'm not quite sure yet. And so anytime that I have begun working with a mentoring client, it's started because I kind of went against my natural instinct of, my natural template, I should say, and followed my instincts, followed my intuition of being honest, being in integrity, of course, but going, what if I said this instead? And that turns out to be exactly what that person needs. Listening to my intuition when mentoring my clients is also huge. I've had things come in where it's like, I would never really ask about that, but okay, we're going with it. I ask, and that's the game changer of the conversation. That is the belief changer, the belief shifter, and starts to transform their whole happiness journey. And I was like, okay, that intuition stuff's coming in pretty handy. Now I may already, excuse me, I may already know these things, but by listening to my intuition, I am trusting myself. I'm deepening my relationships with my spouse, with my friends, my coworkers, with my job, and with my mentoring clients. So, as we talk about these things to improve your relationships, I ask you to start to pay attention. If you get that small, like, I need to message that person and just see how they're doing, I encourage you to act on it and do it. If you get that thought that, oh, I need to touch base with my husband about this, this, and this, do it. Or write it down to do it later, but take action on it in some way right away, whether it's writing it down to do it later because you don't have the time right now, or taking the time right now. If you get a thought that comes into your head that says, ask this question, do it. Now this takes time. It's taken me years to even get to the point that I can hear my intuition. But once I have, it has deeply improved and connected my relationships. So I'm going to leave you with that today. I hope that this wasn't too woo-woo for you, but it's a really important component of improving your relationships with yourself and with others. So if you like this episode, be sure to let me know. Find me at happinessabound.com. And above everything else, remember, you are capable of happiness abound.